but also some good guesses. Because we don't know everything about mammoths for certain reasons. First thing I'd like to see is how tall he is again. Now, I know that I showed you a pole outside, right? They give us the idea it is 14 feet off the shoulder. But this picture right here is not that tall. Because the lights that we see above him, they were here first. So he's shorter than he should be. Now, if you look at the skin color for a moment, look at the tone. I need you to know that because it's a Columbian mammoth and not a woolly mammoth, we don't actually have any skin remains of a Columbian mammoth. It lived in a warmer climate, so they didn't last over time. They went to the icy area, and they found there a woolly mammoth skin. They used it as a guideline to another color here. Now the same thing goes with the head that you're seeing, and also those ears. Those are also remains that didn't last over time. But they give us a small picture here for a reason. Now we all know that the woolly mammoth has hair all over his body, right? And that makes sense to us because it's cold. But we have to remember that hair serves more than one purpose. It's not just about keeping you warm, it's also about sun protection. In Texas, that's a good idea. Also consider this. At the same time period as the mammoth, we had certain megafauna roaming around that are still around today, like the American bison. And it is a very similar hairstyle on the back like this, right? But on top of the head though, that up there, everybody, is what I call artistic expression. Because I've never in my life seen a mammoth of any kind with a toupee. And that's what you got. Now the ears up there. What do you think about those ears? Small, right? The African elephant has got big ears. It's in a warmer climate, so they act like a fan. You go to the Siberian tundra, you'll find examples of the woolly mammoth. They have smaller ears, it's colder there. Well, we have a moderate temperate zone, so they gave a moderate size ears, of course. The tusk over here, these are factual. They're based on Mammoth Q over there, the bull mammoth, and they're about 11 foot long. But the biggest one ever found was about 16 foot long. It was found in Post, Texas, which is up in the Lubbock area. Now, to give you an idea about how much bigger a mammoth is, at the shoulder, standing at the chin, we have right there the Asian elephant. At the cheek area, we find the woolly mammoth. And at the eyes, we discover the African elephant. And if you want to, you can go to our Waco Zoo, and over there you're going to find two of those elephants we have on display. They're both about 10,000 pounds apiece. But this guy right here is 20,000 pounds all by himself. In Texas, we call that 4 pickup trucks. Okay? Now that you know more about the mammoth, everybody, let's come over here and check out the site, okay? And sir, just to let you know, we have a few places over here that are windows. If you want to see a little bit easier.
Appreciate that.
Got a couple of spots here, actually 3 or 4. So everybody, what you're seeing in front of you today is the result of not just one event, but 3. And how I know that is by getting my laser pointer for a second at the lowest level. You will see in a moment a red dot down there, okay? Right down there. Now follow the red dot across the room to that wall over there. And on that wall over there, you're going to see some lines. You now see those lines over there? Those lines, everybody, they have a fancy scientific name. They're called stratum. But they have a more common name that I call them. They're called flood markers. This is how we know that we had 3 events over this area that covered the mammoths completely. So one day we can come back here and finish that story. Now our first event I want you to see is on that lowest level. Everything at the lowest level, that all happened approximately 65,000 years ago. Now what you're seeing today on this event is only part of it though. It actually started outside by the bridge where we found that hill we talked about. And what happened out there one day, our clay soil got very wet. Has anybody here been on a clay field when it got rainy? What happened to your shoes? They got stuck, didn't they? And they found outside a couple of females, a couple of moms, bogged down to our clay outside. They were getting bogged down more and more until they got covered up. They also found outside a couple of juveniles, a couple of kids in the tusk of some of the moms. And the presumption is Those moms outside were trying desperately to save their life. That's what the mothers do. Now the boys are a different story, but we'll talk about them later, okay? Now as flood number 1 comes from outside to this room on that lowest level, the next thing I want you to see today, that depends on where you're standing right now. If you're standing on the left side of that pillar right there, I want all of you on this side over here to look down there and Mammoth S, right there. Okay? But, if you're on the right side of this pillar like I am, sir, I happen to know that you can't see Mammoth S, can you? So instead, look right here below you at Mammoth Q, the bull mammoth. Right here at the jaw. What you're seeing right there is what we're seeing over here also with Mammoth S. We're all seeing jaw fragments and also a tooth. And now we know we're seeing a tooth today if it appears like the bottom of a sneaker or an astronaut boot, we have a tooth. So on this side over here, the left side, right there is one tooth, okay? And on the right side here, sir, that right there is one tooth, okay? If you don't mind, everybody, please take a moment and memorize that tooth with me, okay? Because in a little while, we'll be across the bridge over there, where we'll see Mammoth W. And she happens to have the best teeth in the room. When we get over to her, we'll talk about teeth again, okay? Now, getting back to our first event discussion, we have down there a juvenile T. And then over here to the far right, we have this animal. And that over there, everybody, that's a camel. And I promise you, when we get around to the bend of that camel, we'll talk about it some more. But for right now, I want to end our first event discussion of 65,000 years ago with juvenile T. That juvenile would have been a prime candidate to be a part of the hood that was outside. In order to hang out with the hood that was outside, it had to be a newborn to about 12 years of age. Now, if it was a girl and it was about 12 years of age, everything's okay. It can still be a part of the herd. But if it was a boy and it was about 12 years of age, life for that mammoth is about to change. It's considered to be way too wild and rough, so the big mom outside would kick him out. And it becomes solitary. It would roam around for a long time by itself until it became Mammoth Q, right here below us. Right below us, we have a full-grown bull mammoth. And before I can talk about it properly, I want you to know that we're no longer talking about the first flood for just a moment, okay? We'll talk about that first flood again when we get to our camel over there. What we're doing for right now, though, is moving on to flood number 3. And we can tell that it's a new event because as you can see here, Mammoth Q, he's higher up, isn't he? That means something. That means on a different day, about 51,000 years ago, we had another event that was in the area. And this time, it involved Mammoth Q. We call him Quincy here. Then we head to the right, Mammoth R, a juvenile over there. Mammoth D, labeled unknown. And then all the way over there under the bridge we have Mammoth W. That's the one over there that's got the good teeth. Now the event right here below us, everybody, is going to be a lot different than our first one. Do me a favor and compare Mammoth Q right here with Mammoth T. In your opinion, are they the same or different? What would y'all say?
Size
Any differences you see at all? Yes, sir.
the male looks a lot bigger.
Okay, so for me, when I look down there at Mammoth T, everybody, what I see is a jumbled mess. But when I get Mammoth Q, I can actually make out a mammoth, right? So our first event was more like a rising flood, where they were exposed longer to the elements and got more scattered over time. But Mammoth Q, the moment he fell over, he got covered up. Because his body is very well put together, right? Very well articulated. You can see his back legs. We have one right there, one right there. A pelvic area or hip bone. That's the bone that we look at to see if he's a boy or girl or not. Then we have the vertebrae. We have the ribs on either side. A skull here. And then tusk. If you look at his back legs again, everybody, I can tell you what happened to him. At some point in time, Mammoth Q did a belly flop. And when you're 20,000 pounds and 14 foot tall, I call it the biggest belly flop ever. We also can see on a different day, Mammoth Q had another bad time. If you look at his ribs again, you're going to find on the ribs down there a knot. Right there. That knot is a break in a rib of a 20,000 pound, 14 foot Colombian mammoth. To be more precise, it's a break that is healed about a year before he died, based on the size and shape of that knot down there. And how it got there, we didn't know he's solitary, right? He's all alone. Up until about mating season. Let's remember, this male is looking for a girlfriend. He finds one off in the distance, and he likes this idea a lot, so he gets closer to her. Can y'all tell me what color tickets y'all have? Orange? Yeah, thank you. Give me 1 second. Time. And how I got there was during mating season time, looking for a female. Now, whenever they get to a female that's nearby, what they also find nearby is competition. And those two boys have a little discussion about that. And they use those tusks over there, and they jab it to the rib and they break it just like that. That's what causes that knot. And I want you to know, come to realize, that's how the boys used to get along, or rather didn't get along, during that mating season. We also look at the bull elephants today and look at the ribs again. Guess what they still find? Those same knots. And that means one thing, everybody. Boys haven't changed. Now, while we're talking about that knot for a second, over here behind you, and to my right, we have over here a copy of that same break we just talked about. This copy is here, so you can get it to it closer, see it better, and touch it if you want to, okay? Knot's right there.
What is this made of?
It's like a polyresin plastic. Does anybody have any questions so far? We all doing okay? All right. If so, let's continue our discussion over here beside Mammoth Q. You'll look down there again and you'll see Mammoth R and V. And Mammoth R is a juvenile, but notice where that juvenile is sitting though. It's sitting very close to the tusk of a bull mammoth, right? Now, outside we found some juveniles, and where were they? With the moms, right? That's because it's what the mothers do. But we don't have that over here, do we? So that is why I call this area the area of controversy. Because a lot of people like to come to this site and argue with me all day long what's happening over here. The problem is I'm not the arguing type of guy. I'm the type of guy that's going to tell you both sides of the argument here. It's up to all of you to decide for yourself what you think's happened. Whatever you decide today is okay. That gets me off the hook. Now the first of the argument is this. Mammoth Q is doing the same thing that the moms are doing outside and trying desperately to save that juvenile's life and being an awesome dad over here. Or he got tripped up, fell into his stomach, and then eventually slid over here to the juvenile remains. Also consider this. When we look at research on modern day bull elephants, they don't have the same kind of instincts as females do. They are more wild and rough in nature, and they're more solitary. So there's a good chance he sees that juvenile as competition. But that decision belongs to everybody here and not me, okay? We also have down there Mammoth V, a bone labeled unknown. The reason why it's labeled unknown, everybody, it's not because we don't know what it is, because we do. That's a leg bone down there. What we're saying is that of all the animals that have found this event, none of them belong to that leg bone right there. So what we have today is possibly a missing mammoth, which is pretty cool to think about.
With one leg, a missing leg.
Exactly. Now what we think we might have though is that leg bone might have belonged to, we thought at first, over there under the bridge.
Oh.
Because when you look at Mammoth W over there, she's missing some legs.
Okay.
But what she's missing over there are back legs. That right there is a front leg. So it doesn't fit. So we think we have either just a missing leg from somewhere or maybe in this room a missing mammoth. Pretty cool, huh? All right, if you don't mind now, everybody, let's go around the curve over here on the right side of the bridge to Mammoth W next. So we have over here, everybody, Mammoth W. The end of our third event. They begin with our Mammoth over here. Got more of a landing area up here.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. And all I want to point out about her are some simple details first, then some complex things. For example, if you look behind her, she's missing her back legs. The same legs we just talked about. So I know that when we dig once again, we're hopefully going to find a mammoth over there, and these legs right here. We also can see this is a very big event. It was strong enough to cover mammoth to her stomach over here, and then came through over here and covered mammoth W onto her side. Imagine how much soil it takes to cover up 18 to 20,000 pounds. Now we also understand this is a female, not a male. You look at the pelvic area down there, and this area right here is wider in the shape and more of a diamond pattern, as opposed to a male that's smaller and more of a circle. Now, those are the simple details. Now let's talk about the complex things. A tooth of a mammoth looks like the bottom of a sneaker, right? If you look down there, you'll see a top set right there and a bottom set right there. That means they only have 4 teeth, period. But they have 6 sets throughout their life. The first set is the size of a quarter. The last set, the size of a shoebox, about 4 pounds apiece. Her teeth down there, she's on her 4th set, that's about her 20s. So by seeing the size of a tooth, we understand the age of our mammoth. If I want to know about the health of a mammoth, I look at the tusk. And as you can see, we have one missing, don't we? But it's on purpose. The reason why it's missing, you look inside of a tusk, everybody, you find rings, just like a tree. The thicker the ring you find, the more you know is exposed to a good water supply or food supply. It was healthy. You find a thin ring, just the opposite. It's going through a time of stress, like a famine, a drought, or disease. So it's not doing so well. There's also a chance one day we'll discover if Mammoth Q here, Mammoth W, has ever had a baby or not. How they can figure that out, they'll look at the rings again, and they'll find a small series of lactation rings. They're very thin rings, indicating a time of stress. If they can find them, they'll know she's had a baby. And they learn all that stuff by looking at this tusk of a mammoth. Pretty cool, huh? All right, now if you don't mind, everybody, turn around for me. Cross over here beside me, that's at the bridge. And go back in time to our first event on the lowest level. And now, let's discuss the camel. I want you all to know that when I was given this job, they gave me a laser pointer and they said, Jeremy, come in this room and explain to us everything that you see. It was my test to work here. And I said, okay, no problem, because I was pretty confident back then. And I came in this room and I explained everything we'd seen so far, and to be honest with you, I was feeling pretty good about myself. Until I got over here where you are. I looked down there, I said, this is what I know. That's a camel, because the sign says so. I am from Texas. That animal's lost. That's what I know. Because camels don't belong in Texas, do they? The problem is they actually do. That camel there is called the Western camel. Better known as the camelopes. It actually got its start here in America. We also understand that camel looks different than what we're used to. When you think about a camel, everybody, what does it have to have? Hump, right? Maybe 1, maybe 2. But that camel right there doesn't have a hump. So it looks more like a llama. A different kind of llama than we're used to, but more like a llama. And when they found that camel, they found it on flood number 1. The same event that they found up at the bridge area, a nursery herd. So we need to decide, why do we have a camel hanging out with a herd? Here's what we thought of. Ranchers today, they used to buy just mules for their cattle pens. But now they're buying llamas and alpacas. They're doing that for 2 reasons. Number one, they have excellent eyesight. They can see from very far away. And number two, whenever they see a predator in the area, they make the loudest sounds that you can imagine. I've got a friend of mine who's got a cattle field who has one of these llamas there, and it is indeed a very loud, obnoxious animal. And they also spit on you, and that's just not okay. That being said, that's what they do here together. The camel was like a watchdog for the mammoth. Now, to prove that idea is true, we looked all over the country to different sites before, and they have found camels and mammoths together before. Okay, the next thing I want you to see, over here to the right of that camel, everybody, we have two white signs. This area is called clip number 2. We skipped over it until now because it's easier to see on this side. The first thing I can look at is that tooth down there. That tooth that you see is only a copy of what we found here one day. What we found here one day was indeed a tooth that belonged to a serpent cat. That's considered to be a more rare and valuable find. So for right now, we have a copy to show you the size that was found. But from up here, it looks kind of large. Take a minute, look at it closer. Most of it's white, and that's the root. Then you have a darker section at the tip. That's the exposed tooth. So what you're seeing today is not an adult, it's a kitten. About 7 or 8 months old as far as its age. The other sign that you see down there is referring to the bones above the sign. The bones you're seeing right there are ribs. To be more exact, they are ribs of a medium-sized grazing animal. And if you're going to find bones of an animal that size, and all you find is ribs, you're about to have a very bad day. There's about 40 different animals that are that same size over there, and they all share, guess what? Same rib structure. So we have no